game release, it gives us a lively new generation. And with each generation comes new and creative Pokemon, regions, primordizations, storylines, and spin-off games. So I've decided to make you sit here and listen to my opinions about these generations. Also, since Gen 6 came out 12 days ago, please take what I say about it with a grain of salt, because we really haven't had much time to evaluate and find all of its secrets. Pokemon is the second best-selling game franchise to date, only getting beat by Mario. But that's to be expected because it's mother Mario. But with all those sales, it's obvious that this game has a massive fan base, so don't get mad at me because your favorite generation isn't my favorite. So now I'm gonna shut up and start off the third video of Pokemon Month. Alright guys, I got a news flash for you. Gen 1 isn't as good as you think it is. I do realize that it started off the legendary series that is Pokemon, but it has so many design flaws. The main glaring one being that the special defense and attack are grouped together in one stat. How does that make sense? Attack and defense aren't the same stat, so why are special attack and defense? Another problem can be summed up in 2 words: psychic types. Psychic types are probably the most broken things in video games, only being surpassed by Sonic Free Riders.
Nothing f***ing works! Nothing f***ing works!
And then we come to the region. I'll admit, this region is okay for the first one made, other than the fact that it has 2 pieces of pixelated garbage on its map, but it gets so watered down by the fact that it's being revisited in every other generation. So now that I've covered the region, what do I think about the Pokemon? Honestly, they're all overrated as hell. I just don't understand the infinite amount of praise this generation of Pokemon get. There have always been the Pokemon based off garbage, animals, and there was even one based off the thing that you catch Pokemon with. That's just inexcusable. And another thing, what in the hell are wrong with the sprites in this game? I understand that there were a lot of limitations on the Game Boy's graphics at the time, but still, Pokemon like Exeggutor just look weird. I'm gonna get you. Okay, I've been negative to this game enough. Now for the good things. For one, this for myself and many others was the first Pokemon game we had played, making for an immense nostalgic feel toward this game. Another thing is that, like I said, this was the first game in the series that would lead to revolutionizing the RPG franchise, so it obviously had a long way to come. Also, like I said in my top 10 favorite Pokemon, hidden things in this game such as Mew and MissingNo had a massive effect on the popularity of the series. But this is also one of the things that I have a problem with this generation. When you have to rely on things like glitches and Easter eggs to make your series popular, it starts to show the quality of the game. Though, one of this generation's saving graces were the spin-off games, which included Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap, and Pokemon Pinball. All were amazing games, but the problem is I had more fun with these than the main series games. So I think it's time that we end the negativity and start off on games that I actually enjoy. After the release of Pokemon Red and Blue, people were so excited for the next game. Red and Blue were amazing for their time, but how would they be if Game Freak made them bigger? Alright, this is where it gets good. Generation 2 is that moment in Pokemon history where everyone was certain that this series wasn't going away anytime soon. Gen 2 did some amazing things. It added new types, brought great new sprites, added breeding, added 100 new Pokemon to the roster, brought in an entirely new region, and brought back the old region in a completely playable fashion. That's double the Pokemon, double the gyms, and double the playtime. I loved Gen 2 because of what it did for the series. It completely recreated it all while sticking to its roots. In Gen 2, many things were fixed also. They made it so that the special attack and defense were separate stats, and they added a ton of Pokemon that aren't garbage. The actual region of Johto itself is very good. It has a nice balance of water and land, with memorable places being those of Ecruteak City, the Bell Tower, and the Burn Tower. There is a reason that I didn't mention the crime organization in the first generation. That's because in the first and second generation, Team Rocket is the only crime organization. And they're boring. All they truly strive for is to take over the world and get money. It's an extremely basic plot. But luckily, in this generation, Team Rocket takes a step back from the story and it's mainly focused around the trainer's journey. All the way up until the point of the end of the story, where it amounts to one of the greatest final battles of all time. A battle with yourself. In the end of the second gen, you battle the trainer that you played as in Pokemon Red or Blue, and he is no pushover. All of his Pokemon are level 73 and up, so you cannot go into this battle without knowing your stuff. This generation was one that really stood out and showed us what Game Freak and Nintendo can do, and I wish I could put it higher, but sadly, it's at number 5 for now. Oh Logan, I'm sorry for this. Gen 4 is by no means a bad generation. In fact, I loved it, and it pains me to put it this low. But sadly I must, because there's so many other generations that barely get the edge on this one. Generation 4 added few things, but those few things changed Pokemon forever. In Gen 4, Game Freak added something called the Physical Special Split. What the hell is this, you might be asking? Well, I'm about to tell you. The Physical Special Split is a type of move that is neither physical nor special. It's both. You ever wonder why Fire Punch was only special? I mean, it's a freaking punch. What the hell? Well now, it's not just special, it's both. Now we have the Pokemon. And these Pokemon are freaking amazing. We got evolutions of previous Pokemon, we got insane legendaries, and we even got the literal god of Pokemon. So yeah. Now we go to the crime organization, Team Galactic. Team Galactic is like no other concerning their goal. They want to destroy the universe using the Creation Trio. I mean, how does Team Rocket even compare to this? Now I want to address the spin-off games. First we look at Soul Silver and Heart Gold, and holy mother of God, they are great. These beautiful recreations of the second generation are a godsend. They take the old games that we grew up with and make them so much better. I absolutely love the Mystery Dungeon games, and the Pokemon Ranger games rank up as some of my favorite in the franchise. And now we have the region. To me, it never stood out much. It seemed very linear. That is, until we get to Pokemon Platinum, one of the greatest games in the Pokemon franchise. Platinum gave us an area like none other, the Distortion World. This area is something truly special. It gives off such an odd feeling. It may be weird that I'm focusing only on this one area, but I'm focusing on it because it shows this. It shows that Game Freak is not out of ideas. Not at all. They are just getting started. You mad yet? Yes, I like Gen 5 more than Gen 1, 2, and 4. The reason? Because it's a good generation. It introduced many great new battle mechanics in Pokemon. In Black and White, Game Freak introduced triple battles and rotation battles. These are incredibly fun and require trainers to be on the top of their game to predict what their opponent's going to do next. Then we have the Pokemon, and mother of God, I love them. In Gen 5 they added an insane 156 Pokemon, all of which were just as creative or even more creative as the previous generations I have mentioned. There were dragons, chandeliers, and a god. A freaking god! Nothing from Gen 1 can even hold a candle to these Pokemon. As for the region, I'm very indifferent from most who review it. I actually loved it. It was the first generation not to be located in a Japanese setting. Instead, it's located in the good old US of A, and having Gen 5 be set in New York opened up a lot of cultural design choices. Things like Madison Square Garden, the never sleeping city of New York, and freaking bridges are all ever present in this region. Now for the crime organization. I love Team Plasma. Their goal in this game is to separate Pokemon from humans, without being total dicks like PETA. Their theme is also present within the game's legendaries. Did anybody else find it odd that the white legendary went with the black game and the black legendary went with the white game? Well, there's a reason for that. There is a theme of yin and yang to match with the black and white. It is to show how in our growing world there is becoming a mixture of nature and industry, just as there is a mixture of humans and Pokemon. Team Plasma is trying to prevent this, and keep Pokemon free of human control. I love how this generation tries to give off this theme rather than just being for entertainment. So with that, I give it the number 3 spot. These games, my god, these games. Possibly the most hyped Pokemon games to be released, Pokemon X and Y are number 2 on this list. These games were literally what inspired me to make this video, just so I had an excuse to talk about them. The 6th generation is possibly the most influential generation to date. It brought Pokemon back to its RPG roots, and redesigned the entire formula. You remember the good old quad directional movement? That's all gone. Now we have 8 freaking directions, and on rollerblades, we can go anywhere! It also took the average 2D Pokemon games and put them into full 3D, and they look incredible. In X and Y there are no sprites anymore, it's all 3D animation. It's possible for me to weep just at the sight of these games. But let me explain why. In the 6th generation, Game Freak made an incredible decision. They made all Pokemon from all generations available in this game, straight from the start. None of this boat ticket garbage. First patch of grass, you can find all kinds of Pokemon. I nearly died of nostalgia when the first Pokemon I caught was a Pidgey. This game is only 12 days old and I already love it. This generation is a message. A message from Nintendo saying that they still care about their fans. You liked older generation Pokemon better? Then we're giving you all of them. And anybody that claims Nintendo is doing this because they're out of ideas is sadly mistaken. They did this because they wanted apparent that they aren't just doing this for money. They want a good game, and hell, they made a great one. I mean, in this game they added a new type, horde battles, and Mega Evolution. My god, Mega Evolution. This is possibly the biggest mechanic added since the creation of Pokemon. It is that special boost needed in battle to give you the upper hand. It gives relevance to old Pokemon that have fallen by the wayside. Pinsir, Gengar, Scizor, Gardevoir, all the first gen starters, and many more got these incredible Mega Evolutions. As for the Pokemon in this game, I'm contrary to the popular consensus too. I actually love these Pokemon, most notably the starters. Sticking with the theme of RPG roots, the starters show characteristic of the most known RPG character types, the Paladin, the Mage, and the Thief. And that makes me so happy because I love RPGs. There is so much attention to detail in these games, which leads us to the region. This region, also being based outside of Japan, takes after France, most notably the area of London. Using this area was perfect for the introduction of full 3D, because of France's beautiful architectural style. Pokemon is known for their large amount of backtracking. That is non-existent in this generation, because of the sheer size of the Kalos region. As for the Crime Organization, they are possibly the weirdest organization to date. Their goal is not to take over the world or destroy the universe. They want to make a more beautiful world. This actually fits in with the setting of modern day France, because of how apparent it is in this day and age that beauty is what controls a large part of our lives. I could also mention the added features of character customization, shops, gyms, throwbacks to old games such as the item pickup sound being that of Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, and everything else, but I would be here for hours if I did. I love what this generation is and what it stands for, and I wish I could put it at number 1, but there is no way the next generation could be beat. You already know what it is, so let's get into it. Oh please, you knew this was coming. Yes, Gen 3 is number 1 on my list, and it deserves nothing less. It's almost bad that this was the 3rd generation, because every other game had to be downhill from here. In Gen 3, they introduced double battles, natures, abilities, over 100 new moves, 135 new Pokemon, a new crime organization, a new region, 7 new Pokeballs, weather effects, new graphics, 2 new pseudo-legendaries, and a hell of a lot of fun. Let's start with the Pokemon. The Pokemon introduced in this generation, in my eyes, are the most unique and creative in any generation to date. You had Blaziken, the Reggie Trio, Groudon, Kyogre, Salamence, Metagross, Absol, Sceptile, Swampert, Flygon, and of course my 2 favorite Pokemon of all time, Rayquaza and Deoxys. Now for the region. Holy Mother of God, Hoenn is amazing, with memorable places such as Pseudopolis City, Fortree City, Sky Pillar, Meteor Falls, and Paciflog Town. Everything about this region is great. Then we have the Crime Organization, and I'll be damned if one of you dare says that Team Magma and Team Aqua were a step down from Team Rocket. The main goal of Team Magma is to expand the continents, and the main goal of Team Aqua is to expand the oceans. Both teams are incredibly intriguing to me. Now we come to the spin-off games, and oh my god, they're great. We have Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Ranger, Pokemon Troze, and a new Pokemon Pinball, all of which I am in love with. Then we come to the remakes of Pokemon Red and Green. And oh my god, they are a step up from the originals. With full color, beautiful sprite animation, and improved battling, they give me no reason to ever revisit the first gen games. And finally, the pinnacle of all spin-off games, Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. These are considered the black sheep of Pokemon games. They're fairly strange, but a hell of a lot of fun. They introduce the mechanic of Shadow Pokemon, and to be able to fully use a Pokemon in battle, you had to purify the Shadow Pokemon. I could rant on about how much I love these games, but that's for an entirely different video. And finally, we come to the coup de grace of the 3rd generation, Pokemon Emerald. This is my 2nd favorite game of all time because of all that it did for this series. It added improved graphics, a better story, tag battles, a battle frontier, and my 2nd favorite Pokemon of all time. Oh, and they got rid of that bag is full garbage. I mean, you have Pokeballs that can fit this sack of lard in it, so why can't I put one more piece of candy in my backpack? I have played this game for over 380 hours, and I enjoyed every second of it. Generation 3 perfected the Pokemon formula. It had great gameplay, great Pokemon, a great generation, great spin-off games, a great crime organization, and deserves nothing but the #1 spot on my list. My name is Alfredo, and Game Freak, I implore you to remake this generation on the 3DS.